Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. My name is Aaron. I am joined by Ryan Nelson. Ryan, what's going on today?
Yeah, not too much. What about yourself?
Oh, not too much, man. You know, here to talk some fiscal, physical stuff, get nice and fiscally fit. I don't know how many times I can say fiscal in the next 20 seconds or so, but I'll find out. But today, Ryan, we're going to break down, we've done a bunch of episodes on different topics, different areas. And so, coming up with these episodes and thinking of it, one of the things that I was actually talking to my wife about, and I said that, she was like, oh, like, how do you guys think of your podcast? And I was like, oh, it is the gold standard podcast. And she's like, really? And I was like, I actually don't know what that means specifically or like where that came from, but it's a phrase I use more often than I'd probably think I do. And so I was like, hey, you know what? This would be a good topic to talk about, like the gold standard, what it is, why it ended, what it means to money and such too. So I'm hoping today we can kind of break down what that is, and we'll just kind of dive in there. What is the gold standard?
Yeah, so the gold standard, it's so back in the day, when the U.S. government would create dollars, it would be backed by gold, or the gold standard. So they would pile away an amount of gold representative to the amount of currency they released into the public. So that is what the gold standard is. So effectively, you could think about it as like every dollar out there in the wild, right, being spent could be traded back for a fixed amount of gold, right? So the dollars out in the money supply were tied back to gold. The U.S. government was storing.
The backing of it?
Exactly. So the money the money supply was tied to how much gold, I guess any country, but the U.S. held. And so one of the things that would do is, in theory, hedge inflation and it would help. You couldn't just print money. You can't just go print a ton of money, because you'd have to get enough gold to go put in your reserves as well, right? So it limited the government's ability to go print a bunch of money, which helps restrict inflation. But it also gives us us as in the government, less flexibility during economic crisis. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes they print money intentionally to help try to get us out of or prevent us from going into a recession. So the Federal Reserve can be a little bit strategic with that now, but back when they were on the gold standard, they wouldn't be able to put any more money into circulation unless they got the gold.
So back in the day then, could we actually could you just swap $35 for gold? I'm curious, if that was a thing that you could just do, or if that was more of an idea or a concept. I suppose you probably couldn't go to the Fed and be like, here's $35, give me my ounce of gold.
I really don't know. I would assume it was more of an ideology than actual practically being able to go in and get the physical gold itself. But
I'd be curious. Just something off the top of my head there. But what changed with this? This is if I'm understanding correctly, it's not the system we use now.
No.
What's the history behind that?
So we moved away from the gold standard in 1971. That was under President Nixon. And so basically, what happened was the kind of what I alluded to before. The government needed more money than they had the ability to supply to acquire gold. So they needed more money. So they were trying to fund a war effort, and they were, wanting more money in the supply, and they couldn't find enough gold to do so. So you're in a bind, and they decided to abandon the gold standard at that time. So that was left in 1971. And now effectively the government is backed by the trust of the U.S. government.
Sure.
So it's still one of the most secure financial systems in the world, because the U.S. government's never defaulted on a tax payment. And basically, if they owe somebody money, how do they get that money? They tax the U.S. taxpayers, you and I, right?
Sure.
And that's a pretty reliable source and way of getting money. But so now when they move off of the gold standard and they move to this basically form of trust is it being backed by, that is what we call a fiat system. So it moved from the gold standard to a fiat and now backed by the U.S. government as opposed to gold.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. And we've talked about like I think it was U.S. Treasury bonds. Maybe I'm messing that up. Or like you mentioned, are one of the most like secure things like in the world. So that's nice to know that's like you're like, oh, cool. I don't have a bunch of gold in my safe, but I have these specifically that are backed and like have never defaulted on something. It's a pretty good record.
Right.
So that, I'll take that for any means. But should I guess so today should people still? It's actually funny. I went to Costco yesterday, and my father-in-law. Him and I went with my son, and we were walking through, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go check out the jewelry at Costco," and I was like, why? It's funny. We were speaking Portuguese when we were doing this, so I always I'm like on a 3 or 4 or 5 second delay sometimes because I'm like trying to translate what he's saying. And he's like, "Oh, I need to go buy silver," and I was like, "Why would you go buy silver?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a good investment," and I was like, "What?" And so we went back and forth. I still don't fully. He didn't buy any, but he went and looked at it, and so I was like, all right, but just on this podcast here, I guess with this episode, should a regular person still have gold? Is there still value to having that in buried gold in your backyard? If that's
sure.
I'm curious.
I mean, like everything, there's pros and cons, right? So I don't think that gold is inherently good. I don't think that gold is inherently bad. I think that it is what it is. It's not good. It's not bad. I think the argument that nobody should own any gold is probably kind of foolish. And the argument that all you should own is gold is also equally maybe more foolish, right? So I definitely think gold can be an appropriate piece of somebody's investment portfolio. So if it's like anything else we've talked about in the past, you probably don't want more than 5% of your investments in any one investment. Hey, the same's probably true here, right? You probably don't want more than 5% of your investments in gold, right? Having 1 or 2% in gold of your portfolio could be a reasonable hedge. Gold in general it's typically felt like a little bit more of a secure asset that's going to be a little bit of a slower grower in general. There's periods of time where it's grown very, very fast. There's periods of time where it's declined in price, right? So just like any other investment, it can go up fast, it can go down fast, it can stay neutral for a while. But so in general, it could maybe limit some of your long-term growth. If you invest too much in it, you're no longer as diversified as you want to be. But my 2 cents would be if you have a reasonable amount of your net worth tied up in gold, I've got no problem with it. It's completely reasonable. Where I have issues with is sort of either extremist view where it's like, oh, gold is evil, or gold is like the savior and I want all my money in gold. I think there's that type of thinking on both extremes is problematic.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like you want to be balanced just in general. I think that you can equate that to your lifestyle, eating habits, whatever it is. But you can also definitely, when it comes to your financial resources and what you have, I think that's a good way to kind of put it. So I'm really curious now. I didn't ask my father-in-law. I don't know how much silver he has just stored away somewhere, and I was like, okay, we'll find out later, I suppose.
Well, and that's some of the hard things with it is it's. Your investment accounts could have SPIC insurance or FDIC on your cash in a bank and FDIC insurance on a cash in a bank and stuff. But if you have, a gold bullion or silver coin and somebody breaks into your house and steals it, or if you just lose it, or you, like you said, you have it buried in the backyard and you pass away and nobody knows where it's buried. What happens to that wealth? It just disappears, right? So one of the tough parts is you just be aware, there are other risks that come with holding, large sums of cash, large sums of gold, large sums of silver, all of that.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense there for sure. So awesome, Ryan. Anything else to say on this topic before we go ahead and pause here?
Yeah, so I'd just say in general, so the gold standard was just when our money was backed by gold. Now it's backed by the U.S. government. That has both pros and cons with it. Now we maybe are more susceptible to inflation, but the big positive that's associated with that is the Federal Reserve has more tools in their tool belt, so to speak, to help prevent us potentially from going into future recessions. So like everything in life, there's just trade-offs. But yeah, so overall, hopefully that gives the listeners a little bit more insight into what the gold standard is.
Yeah, I was just thinking, so at this point, I guess we moved off the gold standards like 55 years ago, I suppose, like just thinking about doing the math in my head here.
Sounds like it.
Somewhere in that kind of area. So I'd be curious to see, like, you look ahead, like what does 55 years from now look like? That's always kind of a fun conversation to think about. But we'll see. You guys will have to join us for a podcast episode in 55 years to see what we're doing then. So awesome. We'll appreciate it, Ryan, as always. Everybody hang tight here. We'll be right back on the other side of this for some personal stuff.
And now, to put the personal in personal finance.
Welcome back, everybody, to this side of the Fiscal Physical podcast. I hope you guys learned a bunch about gold and the gold standard on the previous side, and now we're going to lighten things up a little bit here, enrich our knowledge, if you will. So, Ryan, you ready? I got a question for you.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
All right. Did you ever have a celebrity crush growing up? I'm curious about your answer here. I feel like this one, when I wrote this question, it probably could go multiple different ways. So sure. I'm interested to see.
Yeah, I mean, as listeners probably have already started to realize, like, I am like the worst. I don't know any like actresses or actors, or I don't listen to music, so I don't know most music artists. Like, I don't watch
a real
that
asset for pop culture.
Oh yeah. And so I don't know many TV shows or movies. Like, so I'm like the worst at that. It's surprising probably to most people how little I know about like what's happening out in the world from that standpoint. But yeah, so to be a little cheeky, I'll just call my morning or my childhood crush. I'll say Aaron Rodgers, and hell of an athlete.
Absolutely. How old were you when Aaron Rodgers took over as quarterback?
I don't know. I wouldn't have really been a child.
He's like 43,
I wouldn't really have been a
right?
child.
I think he's like 43 right now, 42, something like that.
Yeah, something like that makes sense.
I just saw that he just signed to come back for this upcoming NFL season too. So I was like, holy smokes, like 43-year-old out there getting after it.
They won their Super Bowl with him in 2010, the 2010 season.
So you were still younger at that point then. Yeah. It's not like you were like, something like that. Yeah, you're like, nah, actually I'm good on everybody, but that guy.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think growing up, I had a couple of different celebrity crushes just in general. One, it's always interesting to me because I think like a crush or something can be, normally think for myself like a female or something like that. But I also thought that, like, I kind of went in a similar. I always thought that Denzel Washington was the coolest guy in the world. Like, I watched, my favorite movie growing up was Remember the Titans. I've seen a bunch of his like movies just in general, and I always thought that he was just had a swagger about him that I was just like, man, that guy's awesome. Like, so I think that as far as like one of the people, I was like, oh, that guy's cool. So that was always the guy that I kind of wanted to be like, but couldn't really do it physically, I suppose. But because I'm not an actor. But I suppose for a woman, though, I was a celebrity crush, if you will. I was very smitten, if you will, with Penelope Cruz growing up. That was one, and I was like, whoa, like this lady.
I can't even picture her.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, if you saw a picture of her, I'm guessing you've probably seen her.
I'm sure.
But she also can speak like 5 languages. I always thought that was super cool. She'd like switch like interviews to be in different languages and such. So it was always neat to kind of see. And I just thought that she was a great actress and very easy on the eyes.
So that's what you were attracted to, the 5 languages?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yes. She was very, very smart.
Yeah.
With that. So, but yeah, anyway, that was, it's funny that we kind of both went in a similar-ish direction as far as that goes. But I'm always curious to see what people's celebrity crushes were. I know, like, my wife was a huge fan of the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
When she moved to the United States, she's like, oh, even when she was from Brazil, she was just in love with the Backstreet Boys, and still is to this day. Like, goes to their concert or tries to go like once every couple of years. And I think it's always funny, like, what continues to be built on from your childhood when it comes to those things. And you're still a Packers fan, so that's
look
good.
At that.
Yeah. But awesome. Well, appreciate it, Ryan, as always. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, listening. Hopefully you learned something. Let us know who your celebrity crush is, or what topics you want us to cover here on the Fiscal Physical podcast. You can email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. Send us a text message, a snail mail, whatever it might be. And thank you, Ryan, for, as always, here, and I'll let you have the final thoughts.
As always, stay the course.
Thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening. And as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode, and consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your Fiscal Physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.